What is priceless to you?
Happiness.
Love.
I'm gonna double down on love.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
You guys are so mushy. Like the
I
two
feel
guys
like-
on the podcast said love. What is happening
What'd you
here?
say? Happiness?
I said happiness.
I feel like this one was too easy almost.
I think one of you guys can say one.
That Yusuf is already. The day Yusuf comes back, he's already over there on the side commentating.
30 seconds in.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put a price on love.
You
Yeah.
can't.
For
you
some
can't.
people,
True.
maybe. For some people, I feel like the gold diggers. You know?
Yeah. And that's
prices.
actually like, I asked that question because I think over the past few days we've really realized sort of the
Our love for each other.
power. Well, no.
Oh.
But no, I was gonna say the events that happened in New Zealand recently, like that really showed. And if you don't know, there was a shooting that happened by this guy who claims to be a white supremacist, and it was at a mosque that killed. It was two mosques involved, and I think overall almost 50 people died, and yeah, it's extremely tragic. And you know, you really sort of understand how much you value each other's lives and the community overall. Were you guys kind of surprised or anything by what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty sad about it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, were you surprised?
The thing is, like, it's so weird because there's almost like this feeling of like disconnecting with the whole situation. It's like understanding what's happening because we've had so many things that are like so big and like shootings and all this, and then this is hitting close to our community. And I think that because it hit closer to our community, I had to like step back and be like, oh my gosh. But at the same time, all shootings are just as sad, and I think that we should also have people who are now stepping in and defending Muslims realize that, you know, there's an overall sense of life that we need to be grateful for versus just only siding with our communities when it happens.
Yeah, I think it was surprising that it happened in New Zealand. I wouldn't expect
it's a peaceful
that.
country.
And because it's like, I know that there's a lot of hatred in the air, especially in times like this, but you know, they weren't known for things like that. And you know, it also shows that because he was saying that he looks up to Donald Trump, and you know, like that's very weird because somebody who has kind of spread hatred in our country has made it all the way over, has inspired somebody to do a shooting. And you know, a lot of people will say that you can't relate the two because those are their actions, but I mean, he said it himself, you know, like that's what it came from. But at the same time, I was also very appreciative of like the Muslim community overall in the world, because I think that no matter what happens, a lot of people's faith only gets stronger, and the reaction to it was out of like love and peace. And even the first guy that opened the door, I believe, he said like, "Salam, welcome, brother," and that just goes to show you that like this guy is facing his killer, and he's still being so peaceful and loving towards him. And I think that sets a great example of how we should, you know, continue on in handling this type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I spent the entire night at the mosque actually, because a lot of people were there. We had like a little lecture night, and it was important for the youth to understand that they can voice their opinions, and it's okay to feel sad and afraid. But that the community is always going to be there for you.
Yeah.
So I want to also reach out to our audiences. I know we have a lot of Muslim listeners. If you need to express how you're feeling, if you want to write it out, we're always here for you. even on a personal level, feel free to DM any of us or go through the Strange Flavors email and everything. And what is that stuff?
Yeah. So you can email us at strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com. On all social media, we're Strange Flavors, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And we're also on YouTube at Strange Flavors. So,
Did you want to weigh in on any of that before we move on?
I just think it's sorry. I'm so sorry. You asked on me, and I'm like, I just think that, you know, mosques are like, I've always known that every place of worship, like I was even told this like in school once, that like if you ever feel unsafe, you can go to a like house of God. It doesn't have to be a mosque, but that is where people find, you know, peace and safety. And it's just so sad that people went here you know, going on about their lives, finding peace in a place that this happens in. Sorry, Sharmir.
No, I'm good. I don't have that.
Also, I'm gonna link the GoFundMe that you can donate to if you want to help out the victims of the attack, and we're sending our most love and prayers to the victims and their families, and you know, anybody else who's going through anything that's sort of tough.
Thank you for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer.
I'm FARAS.
My name is Amber.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is brought to you by Alif
Alif
Theory.
Theory.
Sorry. I just got done designing some Strange Flavors merch. I had a lot of fun with it.
They were so cute.
You liked it?
Yeah.
I like little ice cream things and stuff. It was a lot of fun to do. So that's going to be linked in the bio down below. If you want to
Phone
cop anything
cases
Strange
and
Flavors.
pillows and
related.
cute stuff. Go get it, friends.
All the cute stuff.
All of them.
So what's going on with Superwoman, aka Lily Singh, aka Superwoman?
Boss moves only.
What's the boss move?
What do you mean? Like,
I know. I'm just saying. What's the boss move?
literally, she's the first woman of color who has gotten a late night show on NBC, and
wild.
1, a girl, 2, brown, 3, bisexual. So like, she's
Whoa.
covering a lot of areas here that, you know, she's representing, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
I think she kind of played out her time on YouTube. I think she ran her course and it's kind of done. I feel like a lot of her audience has kind of grown up and they became Liza Koshy fans. Just kidding. But still, you know.
What did you say?
They grew up and became Liza Koshy fans.
Oh, okay.
But still, like, I feel like she did her thing on YouTube, made it big, and the next step that would make sense is something like this. And I'm really proud of her.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing is, like, anytime she made like a late night show appearance, Frost would roast her. Like, you would roast her and be like, "Yo, YouTube
like she's very
personalities,
awkward.
very awkward and stuff," and then
still
she actually
got
got
her own
a
talk
late
show.
night show. So
I feel like they
Frost,
do that
can
with
you like
every
roast
YouTuber.
me? Maybe I get my own late night show.
I think well, first of all, I'm extremely impressed and like just proud of her.
Yeah.
I think that my comments on like her sort of antics and like, you know, her behavior on the show still stands, because even when she was announcing it was kind of like awkward. She's not, and she'll get natural at it, I think. But it's crazy how many people I hear all the time, different celebrities saying like, I want my own talk show one day. Even like Charlemagne, he's like, I'm gonna get a show one day.
But
and
he still doesn't have his like own show.
yeah, and like Superwoman, a YouTuber, has her own show and on NBC.
And late
Literally.
night. I
Followed
don't
up
think there's
by
any other.
I think
female
it's super cute.
woman.
It's called A Little Late with Lily. Like, what?
Yeah, that's a good
so
name.
Cute.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, go Superwoman. That you're really, you know, living up to your name.
Is she
And
still gonna do YouTube?
She said she's still gonna do YouTube, but like, obviously, she
It's gonna be
cut
slow.
off all promises of what she was gonna do structurally and how many times a week when she took that break months ago.
Oh, okay.
Her channel might become one of those like late night show
Oh
channels.
my gosh.
You never know.
She could
What if she like combines it because it's a
That would
more
be
of an audience?
like, yo,
Yeah, actually, that
she
would.
could post clips on there if they let her. You know.
And it would go on the trending page more often because that's all the trending page now.
Yeah.
Late night shows.
Yeah.
It's true.
In other news, you guys remember Aunt Becky from Full House?
Yeah.
Lori Loughlin, is that her name?
Yeah.
Her actual
That's
name?
how you pronounce it?
I think so. What is
So
it?
what are you gonna say, Loughlin?
I'm so confused.
Were you gonna
on
say
how-
Loughlin?
I was like, I don't know what I would say. I was like, Lori Logoglo.
I think that's how you pronounce it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
she
I'm sure.
so she might be going to jail. Like she bribed
Yeah, it was in California.
USC, right?
oh, okay, USC.
Yeah.
She bribed them, right? To get her kids in there. I think that one of them already goes there, and they're trying to like find out if that was also
Was it Olivia Jade, the one who's in David Dobrik's
They
vlogs?
both. She paid over 500,000 both. For them.
Oh, they were in the vlog.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Olivia Jade is in the vlog, and David helped her move in and everything.
Yeah, it says that they are not returning to USC actually.
I mean,
with the
I wouldn't
daughters.
either if you go there and then the whole school knows that you got there
Yeah.
because your mom paid. Now everybody's going to be like doubting your abilities the whole time.
You know what's funny though? Like in Full House, there's actually an episode where like her kids in the show, she like tries to kind of play out the same thing,
Oh, that's where she got the idea from.
She got the idea, but then at the end of the show, like she, at Full House, it always comes full circle, and they learn the lesson. So she's like, that's not the right thing to do. But
Never mind.
In real life, she's like, oh, that's actually a good idea. The writers are dumb. Like, let's go after this.
It's
but
so weird. It's like you wouldn't expect her to like be a criminal, you know? Like,
Honestly,
does it bother you though?
no, it bothers because one,
I feel
so
like
many
it
people
would-
do it all the time.
literally.
I'm like, why are you surprised? Like, okay,
That's what I'm saying. I'm not. I thought people
Yeah.
already did that.
yeah, and
before
they
I
do.
found out.
Like, okay, let's say like the dean and stuff, and you like contribute like a park bench for the university. Your kids
A
can
park
start.
bench.
Literally, that's how it works.
That-
You donate
yeah, I know.
money, and you get a bench named after you, and like your kids can go there. Or if
Yeah.
you're friends with somebody, or like and she, I guess, didn't do it the right way. She did it the illegal way, and there's legal ways of bribing people, I guess, to get your
she
kids
should have
in.
just put in a big donation.
So my brother was saying that like it's not right because there's a certain there's a cap to how many people you can have in certain classes and
Agreed.
how many people get accepted and stuff. So I can see that perspective, but at the same time, I feel like the cap is for the people that are applying and
To be
stuff,
honest-
and then on top of that,
Yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, just throw them in there. I don't know how
I
it
don't.
works, but
To be honest, like from my own perspective, that cap I feel like is BS. Like it accounts for all that. So many
Yeah.
people get into these schools, like 1,000 of them, like for
If there's 200 kids in the classroom,
Yeah, and
201 is not killing them.
yeah. And somebody commented like, "Oh, my daughter had like straight A's since elementary school and like was 8 varsity teams and like 8 5s on all my APs, and she still didn't get into USC." And I'm like, well, your daughter's not good enough. Like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
also the
like-
other thing is like I was saying that I don't know if I would care that much because I think that when they're taking the classes and they have to actually put in the work,
It'll
are they
show for
still
itself.
gonna? It'll show it, but then again, are they gonna bribe again and be like, "Yo"? Because I heard that they can actually change SAT scores and stuff too.
What?
So I don't
Where
know,
would-
like,
My
but I
dad
think in the
just
real
needed
world,
more money.
I think in the real world,
basically.
it would they wouldn't be able to apply because if they're not like, if they don't actually know what they're doing or talking about.
Obviously, they'll get fizzled out in the real world.
But then
Yeah.
again, like if they work for some company or something, I think they'll learn in the process
But
and
Yeah.
they'll stick
Also,
around.
Olivia
There's no
Jade
fear.
doesn't need to go to school.
Yeah.
Like her channel is so successful. She just wanted the college
Oh, she's
experience.
a YouTuber too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
a
like a
YouTuber.
huge YouTuber.
Oh wow.
And she was just like, she went from big YouTuber. She could have like easily not gone to college.
Yeah, but she said she wanted to do the lifestyle of a college
Yeah.
student, and that's it.
And I guess
She said it herself. She's like, I don't like school.
yeah, and I can see why people are pissed about that. Like, hey, your
Like, she's
mom,
unappreciative.
your mom bribed almost $500,000 worth, and you don't care about school. I mean, like, obviously, 90% of college students are like that. I feel
Yeah.
like they're just like, oh, I want to party and whatnot, and it's just like your mom,
Yeah.
90 is a high number, bro.
dude. It's a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people are like that. They're just like, I mean, yeah, 90 is a high number, but
I'm
a lot
glad
of
that
people,
I'm glad that this was exposed though, and that because it's wrong.
It
at the
is
end of
I
the
feel
It
day.
is
bad
wrong.
that all the attention and pressure went on her and her daughter though. When there's so many
Yeah,
people
there's so many
involved.
more.
There's so many people involved, and it's all like Aunt Becky and her daughter, Aunt
'Cause
Becky
it's
and Olivia
funny.
Jade.
Yeah.
It
It's-
is, but like she's getting more heat from it, getting like fired from all these shows. She's not coming back on Fuller House.
Oh really?
No, they
No.
literally have like kicked her off of so many things. She's not on the Home Improvement channel anymore. Like there's a lot of stuff that she's losing opportunities from. But like
it is fraud.
Donald
though.
Trump is literally our president, and he had a whole fake university. Like I just don't
Yeah.
understand.
Well, maybe she can have a show called like The Big House instead of Full House.
Like the Big House.
Good luck. Like that's what they call Joe.
Or like an SAT prep course.
Oh my god! Wait, that was rude. Okay,
Okay,
but speaking of
so-
celebrities, I came across this interview of Michael B. Jordan, and he basically mentioned that he had to like go to therapy and everything after he recorded Black Panther because he was in this mindset, and he said that during filming and stuff you want to stay in that zone, so you surround yourself with that environment, and because you're filming for months and months and months, you end up staying in that mindset, and it's very vicious. Like similarly, like obviously I only did the show for a few weeks, but everybody who was around me, I'd be like, stop joking and stuff because I have to cry in the next scene, like walk away, you have to do that. But he's doing this on a much bigger like scale where he has to
Michael B.
maintain-
Jordan played Killmonger, which is the
In-
evil
yeah.
person
Right.
in Black Panther, right?
Yeah, and he had to play that role on screen, but also maintain that personality off screen
Yeah.
to be able to present that on screen. And he said after
Did it
doing
go
that
that
for
hard?
months and months and months,
I don't think he. I mean, he's a method actor. I feel like. I think,
Mm-hmm.
but too like that role didn't feel like.
I'm gonna give an unpopular opinion. I don't think Michael B. Jordan is that great of an actor.
I think he's pretty good.
He looks fine.
But the Killmonger.
That's it. That's why people like him, because he is attractive. That's it.
Yeah. But the Killmonger role, like, I feel like you don't need therapy for that. You know?
No, but okay, but
Jared Leto and who's the guy who played the
he's
other
saying
Joker?
that once
Heath
he
Ledger.
stopped shooting
Heath
it.
Ledger killed himself because of
That's an
had to-
extreme. I
like
mean,
Yeah.
he was so into the zone that
Wait,
he actually needed
But to
therapy.
be fair, we don't know like
Let's
what
not
he did to
discredit,
try to get
yeah.
in that role.
yeah, let's not discredit
Like
it.
Michael
in
B.
the-
Jordan.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Maybe he went just as hard, but he just like
Yeah.
the role didn't require or whatever.
Right.
Well, personally, I didn't see that on screen.
Right.
Like
I
Joker
see what
level.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was saying that when he said everything was fine until it ended, and you don't have to be in that mindset anymore, and then you're confused with what
Yeah.
to do with that same energy. You don't have to hold it anymore, and you have to go through
That's
therapy.
how we felt about Rami Malek when he was
yeah.
got his Oscar. We were like, yo, this dude is still Freddie Mercury on stage.
But speaking of being on set and actors and directors and all that type of stuff, the stranger on our show today is a director of the show that I was just on. He's an amazing director, writer, and storyteller. Please welcome Murad Amayreh. You don't like being on camera.
Just gonna
But you're
bring it
fun
in with
director.
that.
You're on camera right now.
So I know well, this is different. I don't mind being on camera like this because like I was ready for it. I was prepared for it. Like it's on my terms, right? And like I don't mind even like performing. Like I started out
As an actor.
as well, not really as an actor, but in theater. And
Okay.
part of what I did was acting. And I, even when I transitioned over to film, I didn't have a problem getting on camera. But it was always like, okay, I know the character I'm playing. I know the lines I'm delivering. It's not, or even if it's an interview, like I know who I'm being interviewed by. I know what we're doing. But like when I say I don't like being on camera, like don't catch me off guard. Like I don't want to be. Like that's what this whole conversation started because what we
Behind
were
the scenes
filming was
camera.
behind the scenes, and I'm like, I'm in my element. I'm doing my thing. Like I'm not trying to be on camera. I'm doing my thing. So like I don't want cameras on me when I'm doing my thing. But then that also translates over to like why I'm so bad with social media because I don't put myself out there that much. I just don't like to. I'll put my work out there, but I don't really put myself out there that much.
Is it because you have that hat on now and you're an artist?
Yes. It's all about me. I only create art so that I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Nah.
Wow.
No, I think a lot of people that are behind the camera would say something similar, and there's a reason a lot of times that they are behind the camera and not in front of it. Maybe that has something to do with it. Let's address the elephant in the room. I think everybody's wondering why you didn't cast me. I'm just kidding.
Because you were terrible. No.
Cast you for what? Aladdin?
Be honest. You can tell him he was bad.
No, actually, you weren't bad at all. Like to be completely honest, no, you weren't bad at all. You were so. Let's give this some context. So,
Okay.
a web series
Yeah.
from Dean TV called Rhythms of Faith, right? And
That you're directing.
that I was brought on by Dean TV to come and direct the series. There's a character named Omar who's brown, right? And so we did a casting call, casting call for that character. You came in, you fit the right profile, you fit the right age, you fit the right look. So it's all right, let's bring this guy in, let's have him come in and read for the role. So you came in, you read for the role, you did good. I'm not taking that away from you. You did good. Your performance was solid. I'm not criticizing your performance in any way.
Please
but
do.
For me, when I am casting,
I actually want you to criticize it. That was
So
my
you can
that was
learn.
my first audition. So
Yeah, we want him to be better, so.
I mean, I'd have to go back and look
Yeah.
at it and pick it apart for me to
Yeah.
give you some real constructive, feedback.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
I'm
was
just
just
saying,
trying
like,
to answer your question of
I'm
like why
saying-
we didn't cast you.
Yeah, no, you can go hard on me, like.
But that's what I'm saying. The reason we didn't cast you has nothing to do with me critiquing you. I could
okay,
do that
okay.
like separately and critique you and give you where I think you could have
Yeah.
maybe done better, but it has nothing to do with whether you could have done better or not.
Yeah.
When I cast, I'm looking more for whether like if that person captures the sort of the essence of what that character is, right?
Yeah.
So we might have somebody come in and read for a role and they're clearly a more talented actor. Another person will come in and their acting capability or the way that they're reading the lines is it's okay, it's good, but the other person was better. But this second person just captured a certain essence about the character that sold me on casting that person as the character.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, when you're casting people, do you kind of like already have a vision of like, oh, this person is supposed to be like this, and then when you see that person, you're like, oh, snap, that's it.
So
And then you kind of mold them into.
So the first part, I'll go into an audition, I'll go into a casting session with a certain thing that I'm looking for, with a certain like, okay, I want this character to be A, B, C, but I don't look for somebody to like that person. That's it. Bam, there it is.
Yeah.
Because I also want to see what you as an actor bring to that character, and that's where.
I mean,
you know,
I think that's why you had me doing an improv thing. When I came in for for casting, you had me do this like read it part of the script, and I didn't do good on that. I feel like
fine.
I did okay. And then I think it was the improv thing that kind of more like sold it, because you could see me acting as a different thing.
Because here's the
just
thing:
that.
is again, to me, it's not the lines, it's not the dialogue, it's not even the performance. It's just the presence that the actor brings to the character. That's it. And the character that you played, whose name was Khadija, is very argumentative. She's very she's sassy. She's got an attitude. She's all this other stuff, right?
Amber.
So Amber came and
And
she
a
read the role.
fashionista, don't forget the fashion.
She's a fashionista.
Oh, Amber.
So she came and she read for the role, right? And she did good. She didn't.
It was okay.
It was good. It was decent, right? But I was just like, okay, I want to see if she can capture the essence of who this character is. So I just put one of the other people that was behind camera. I'm like, argue with her about something. I think, what do we say, like the border wall or something?
Except
like that.
I had to be for the border wall.
And I'm like, just
argue.
argue. And she had no idea we were going to do that. And I like to do that and I'll only do that, by the way, with actors that like passed like stage one, which is like, okay, well, stage one is always like, do they fit the physical characteristics of the of the role? They do. Okay, let's call them in, and they'll come in. They'll read. Okay, they read. They did good reading. If they're terrible reading, I'll be like, all right, thank you, have a nice day. It's done. But if they did good reading, I'm like, I'll throw a curveball at them and just see what they do with it. So, okay, this is a really dramatic scene. I've done this to actors before. It's a really dramatic scene. They'll come in, they'll read it real dramatic. I'm like, all right, now do that again, but I want you to laugh the whole time, like it's funny. They'll be like, what? This is like a dramatic role. Like, this is crazy stuff happening. I'm like, yeah, laugh. Just do it. Make it funny.
Because I
just want to see what they're going to do with it.
Yeah.
You know?
So
I could see that.
what tips can you give to people who are like, for the first time auditioning for something? What can they expect, and what should they kind of like, how should they perform?
I mean, every casting director and every director is different.
Okay, yeah.
But I think just in general, being flexible is what a lot of people are looking for. Most directors are not going to want you to come in already prepared with how you're going to deliver the lines, how you're going to play this character.
This is my interpretation
exactly.
as an artist.
Come in. You can come in with that. That's fine. You can come in with that, but be ready to be flexible. Be ready to like take everything that you prepared and like turn it on its head and do something else. Yeah. Because your vision might not be the same.
You were on the computer on FaceTime.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is like, I had no idea how it works. I was like, oh, this is different. And then he's like, okay.
Wait,
like,
he was on FaceTime?
Yeah,
I wasn't here.
He was like the, you know, like the Wizard of Oz.
He was
like,
on an iMac. He was like on a massive iMac.
I was the wizard.
And then he's like, bring in the next person, and I'm like, who's talking? And then I go in front and I sit down, and then he's like right there on the. You can just see like the top. You know how your mom holds the iPhone camera and like it's
my God.
only the top. I was just seeing the top of his head, and I'm like, oh, like this is the director.
Was that weird for you guys?
It was a little bit weird because, especially because of the scene that I had read and practiced for seemed like I was this like noble person fighting for this cause, and like I came in there like trying to like sell myself like that. He was like, you're actually supposed to be flirting this whole scene. And I was like, wait, what? Like I'm supposed to be this religious girl who like doesn't even like what do you mean? And like
Khadijah's a complex character.
Yeah. So I was like, that already threw me off. And then this man was on an iMac, and then all of a sudden I'm fighting about how I do agree with the border wall. So that was weird. But what was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like I've never officially been a part of like anything. I actually snuck into something before. Like my brother does this stuff, and we were doing House of Cards, so I just kind of snuck into the shooting, and I made it in, and he didn't.
Nice.
So yeah. But okay, so let's get into this. For people that don't know, who are you and what's your whole background in? Obviously people understand you're a director, but where do you come from?
Like originally?
No, I mean, your background in film, but
or that
like where my grandparents come from. Is that what you're trying to get?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm from LA, born and raised in LA. My parents are from Jordan, in case anybody was wondering.
Okay.
But yeah, so I grew up in LA, and like honestly, I know it sounds a little cliche and a little cheesy, but like I've always just been a storyteller. Like when I was a kid, like 2nd, 3rd grade, I used to just sit there and write stories all the time.
Do they in school like have you take a lot of entertainment like style classes at all, or no?
Like in school or in film school?
Well, in school,
in like
throughout-
LA.
Oh
It's like-
no, it's just like regular school. Like there's no emphasis just because it's in LA. That there's no emphasis on the entertainment industry. No, not at
Because
all.
I mean, a lot of people
there's
do work in.
there's creative schools that are like that.
Yeah.
But like those are like special schools that I didn't. I just went to regular.
Oh,
Public
from a
school.
young age, you can go in those creative
You
schools.
can. You go to like certain art schools or
Okay,
certain
okay.
like like performing arts schools and things like that.
Right.
But no, I just went to regular public schools.
Okay.
I just liked telling stories. I've always liked telling
Like
stories.
writing them in film too, or
No, so I didn't get into film until later.
Oh.
But I mean, it's all storytelling at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's film or whether it's theater or whatever it is, it's all
so
you're telling a
you
story.
liked it all, like no matter what form of story.
Initially, I just used to like to write stories. I would write them in these little books, and I would like staple them, and then I would have, put them in my little bookshelf, and that's what I just like to do. Just what about anything? Something would happen, like, oh, that's funny, or that's cool, and then I'd write a story about it. And I did that all through like elementary school, and I did that through middle school. And then when I got into high school, I got into theater. So that's where it kind of transitioned from just being writing into being like, okay, actually writing a story that gets to be performed now. So, and I took a theater class my freshman year in high school, and just that's it. I fell in love with every aspect of it. I was already a storyteller, but I started acting, started performing, started getting into the characters. I started getting into like building sets and just all kinds of stuff. And I wasn't so much like a theater geek, but like I was into it. It was fun.
I always hated that process of like I liked. I always loved watching movies, and the thought of being an actor was always cool to me. But for some reason, doing theater and stuff always kind of was just like, I never liked that part. Do you think that that's important to go through?
No, I mean everybody has their own like journey that they go through.
Yeah.
But like for me it was because it got me used to the idea of taking something that's a concept, which I was already used to doing, and then now I'm turning it into something real. But like things obviously look a lot like sort of less real in theater.
Yeah.
Were you acting them too, or
I did. Yeah, I performed. I did quite a bit of acting actually in theater, and then by my senior year, I wrote a play, and I
Whoa.
submitted it to the guy that was running the theater department at the time.
Did he like
and
it?
He loved it, and we got to do it.
Whoa,
Nice.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
And I got to direct it.
Whoa.
So that was my first that was my first thing that I ever directed. Was a play.
At that point, were you just like, all right, I'm gonna be a director, or
No.
Yeah, like
No.
what was that turning point for you then? That you were like, this is something I want to do my whole life.
That was in college, so I would have been in college. So I went to college. I did the theater thing in high school, and then I continued to do the theater thing in college. But it was just fun. It was just I kept writing stories. I kept writing scripts.
What was your major when you entered college?
Political science.
Wow.
Yeah.
why?
Okay.
I was young and wanted to change.
That doesn't
the
seem like a
world.
young thing.
No. I mean, it was a whole thing where like I wanted to change the world and I wanted to get
Okay.
out there and like
Okay.
I was all about like back then I was very different in college. So back then I was just all about like going to the protests and like the down with the struggle and against the man and like just making the world different, like changing the world and being part of the revolution. But like at some point as I grew up, I realized that like, okay, all this stuff, like, okay, yeah, we go and we yell and scream in the streets for 2 hours and then we all go to Starbucks afterwards. So it's like, we're not really achieving anything. We're not changing the world by doing this stuff. But
Oh my God, you just offended so many people.
I offended so many people. Because the thing is, like, there's guys that I grew up with in those college days that are my age now that are still like all about that. I'm like, dude, you're just older now, but you're still going to these protests and getting Starbucks afterwards, and you still haven't changed anything.
There's different ways to change the world, and I think if that was initially your goal, then I think that you're still somewhat achieving that.
Oh
somehow
yeah,
through your
yeah.
films, so.
That goal didn't change.
Oh, okay.
It's
Just the method.
Absolutely. Like, I'm still down with all these causes. It's just like I see the way that I was doing it back then as sort of, I don't want to say a waste of time because I know there's other people who are all about it and whatever, but like I just feel like it's more just
Well, also poli-sci is not
protesting,
protesting.
No, it's not.
So-
But like my mindset at the time was I'm going to go to poli-sci. I'm going to
Okay.
get into politics. I'm going to become. I didn't even know really exactly what I was going to do. I was thinking maybe going to law, and then I didn't really have a clear path. But I
Yeah.
knew I wanted to be in politics or in that world somewhere.
What was the switch from politics to film?
So it was actually switched twice. So what happened was that I was a poli-sci major, but I was still doing theater just for fun, right? And then as part of the poli-sci thing, I had to take a journalism class. And I'm like, okay, so here's something where it's still in the same world of like politics and global events and world events and causes and things like that. But It's
telling
more on the
stories.
storytelling side, and in the reality, telling the reality and telling those type of stories. So I switched to being a journalism major, and that was extremely short-lived because my first semester as a journalism major, I took a film production class, and I was still doing theater at the time just for fun. On campus, but I also did it like just with my friends. Like we would go to like, I don't know if you guys have MSAs out here, right?
Yeah.
So we had like an MSA West out there. We had our MSA West conference. So me and my friends would get together and do these like,
which is a Muslim
performances.
student association.
Muslim
for
student
people that don't
association.
know.
Yeah. So I would do these performances, and some of those performances were like super controversial and crazy. Like, I hope there's
What do you
no
mean
video out
performances?
there that
Like-
exists of some
Yeah,
of this
like,
stuff
what
that
were
we
you
have
doing at
skits.
these?
I don't want to talk about it.
What was it, like music skits?
No, they were like
When you
skits.
performed?
They were
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, they were skits
Yeah,
that me and my friends would get together and we would write, and a lot of them were really, really, really controversial. Where I would
Okay.
play like somebody. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hope.
He's like, I'm still trying to get hired for different film gigs, so like I can't put this out there.
That's a really
Some
good
stuff was
progression,
crazy.
though, to go from poli sci to journalism to film. Is like, you're understanding the way the world works when it comes to who runs it and everything, and then wanting to make change, and then telling the story of those people, and then going to telling different types of stories. And it's like you're getting a lot of ethical background through that process. So
That's true, but I
Yeah.
still think that there was definitely a part of me, or a big part of me really, that was very naive even once I got into film, in terms of like what I wanted to do with that, whether it was poli sci or journalism or film. But so like I took this film production class. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And then the professor of that class told me, he was like, "Oh, why don't you have you considered majoring in film?" And I'm like, "Wait, you can do that? That's a thing."
and then your parents.
My parents,
said,
of course, they totally accepted it.
Whoa.
Because you know how brown parents are, right? Our son wants to go to film school. Oh yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. No, of
The
course.
sarcasm is real.
My mom's a psychologist, right? So she was cool with it.
She's like, "Are you crazy?"
Probably because she just thought it was a phase. No. My mom's. That's just she whatever you want to major in, go ahead and major in. That was her approach.
That's awesome.
She's maybe not as brown.
She's a psychologist,
She's
so
a psychologist.
that makes it better.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but my dad's my dad. I love both my parents. I love my dad very much. But he wasn't. Disclaimer. But he wasn't. Yeah.
He's an immigrant.
Yeah. So he wanted me to engineering. Even when I told him I wanted to go to maybe law school, he was like, okay, maybe. But when I told him I wanted to do film, he was like, "What are you gonna do with that?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm gonna make movies." He was just like, "What?" Like,
Movies.
yeah, he wasn't very happy about it. But I did it anyway. And my dad's the old school Arab guy, right? So my dad doesn't really use words like "I'm proud of you." That's not really in his vocabulary. But like, I'll do a project. The project will be done. My dad will watch it. He won't say anything. He'll just watch it. And then when it's done, he'll just nod his head. And then when he's going to go visit his family in Jordan, he'd be like, you know that movie that you showed me a couple months ago? I'm like, yeah. He goes, "Can you give me like 30 copies of it on like DVDs?" I'm like, first of all, nobody does DVDs anymore. But sure. And that's how I know that he's okay with it now, is because when he goes back home to Jordan, he wants to show everybody, "Look what my son made."
Yeah.
So
What do you think
that's
of
awesome.
film school? Like, how was it, your experience with film?
it was cool. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what I didn't want to do. So
Like what?
Fair.
I took a cinematography class and immediately knew that I didn't want to do cinematography. That's just not. I'm not into the technical side of things. I know what I want the shot to look like, and I'll talk to the cinematographer about it. But like, ask me to achieve that look, no, it's not. It's just not. It's a foreign language to me. To get f-stops and like candle, like I don't know. That's, I don't know what I just like make it look like this, and I'll communicate with the DP. So like, I learned a lot about what I didn't want to do in film school.
Somewhere along the line, you went from going to film school, and you mainly do Muslim films now. So like, how did that come about? Like,
He's like, "Not true."
why mainly
It's not.
Muslim films and Arab films and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, so a couple reasons. One goes back to that naivety that I feel like I had when I was younger, is that I still, even when I went to film school, it still was with that kind of naive mindset of like, I want to change the world with my movies. I want to do something for Muslims, for my people, for this. That's initially what I went into it with. And I had so much that I want to say. I want to say this about that subject. I want to talk about Palestine. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. And so I think it was very naive. That approach. And so because initially that's what I wanted to do, those are the contacts that I made. And and you're gonna end up. I mean, this is just the world that I had immersed myself in and built around myself. So as I sort of matured as a person and as a filmmaker, I kind of realized that, like, I think I just want to tell good stories, and good stories to inspire people, good stories to, like, make people think, good stories to make people laugh, even just like they don't have to be so preachy. I don't have to beat my message over my audience's heads.
Well, I think, real quick, I think that a lot of people still, to this day, they go in with that mentality, and a lot of people feel like they are doing that. Why do you think, can you help us understand, why do you think that maybe that's problematic or naive?
Because people don't connect with causes. People connect with people.
Okay.
People connect with individuals. They connect with stories. Like, who hasn't seen Forrest Gump and fell in love with Forrest Gump? Why? Because it's an amazing story. There's no message there. The one time where Forrest Gump gets on the podium and he's delivering some kind of thing that could be seen as like a message, pro-war, anti-war, we don't know. The mic cuts out and we don't hear what he says. Because it's not about what the message is. It's about the story. And everybody connected with that. Everybody connects with that story. Humans connect with other humans.
How long did it take you to learn that?
I mean, it's not. I didn't wake up one morning and epiphany. It's a process. It was a process.
What was you're fine. What was the opportunity that kind of like allowed you to kind of know that this is something that you are able to do and financially support you and everything?
Oh, it took a long time.
Yeah.
I had a lot of jobs in between. I worked at the Apple store for a while selling. I was actually. This now I'm going to kind of date myself, and everybody's going to know how old I am. I was working at the Apple store when the very first iPhone was launched. That was miserable. I actually walked out.
That was what,
Wow.
2009?
Was that the
2008?
last day of your job at
7.
Apple when you walked out?
I mean, kind of. I went back to work like 2 weeks later, but I lost my job because of that. I did, because it was insane. I didn't realize it was going to be that bad. It was the very first iPhone launch.
That's why. Okay, so before you guys came here, him and I were talking about people. We were talking about like Elon Musk and people that are changing the world. He was really upping Steve Jobs. Now I know why.
No, I mean, look, iPhone and smartphones revolutionized the whole world. That's
Yeah.
You just didn't want to be there when they were being sold.
I just didn't want to be. I hate retail. I can't stand retail jobs. I can't. But I work retail. I worked other jobs. I actually worked as a cable installer for a long time, crawling in people's attics and in crawl spaces. And then on the weekends, I'd go make movies and I would do projects and stuff like that. So like, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in there. I didn't like graduate from film school and immediately be embraced by the entertainment community and start making a living making films.
So what did you have to do to like be able to get to that spot? What was the process like?
I mean, I feel like I'm still not at that spot.
Okay.
It's a process. The whole thing's a process. If anybody ever feels like I made it, you're done. Like, so like, I'm okay. I've reached a point now where, sure, I'm paying my bills.
Yeah.
That is my source of income, is making movies and being in that industry. But I don't know. It like, again, same thing as like to your last question. It's like it didn't happen one morning where I woke up and I started getting hired for gigs and this. It's just, it was a very, very slow process where it kind of reached a point where like, okay, like now I'm not saying anything novel here, but it's all networking, right? So I networked with enough people and enough people knew me and were comfortable with my capabilities that I started getting hired. People, hey, I have a project, I have a commercial for my business that I want to do. We have an organization, we want to do a documentary about XYZ ABC. Musicians, we want to do a music video. And just the people that I knew that I had networked with, I mean, it's not only networking, right? Because you can network, you can get to know a lot of people.
I feel like a lot of it is networking.
A lot of it is, but if you know a lot of people and you suck, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you still have to be, there has to be a certain degree of, like, ability, you know? But yeah, you can also be the most talented person in the world, and if you don't know anybody, then it doesn't matter.
Was it only directing jobs, or?
No, actually, early on, probably it was mostly editing. I'd get hired a lot as an editor.
What program?
Initially, Final Cut. I was using Final Cut Pro for a long time until Apple decided that they didn't want to update Final Cut Pro anymore and switched over to Final Cut X, and I'm like, all right, forget you, Apple, and I went to Premiere.
Do you like editing or no?
Not anymore. I used to love it, but not anymore. It's too tedious. But so, I didn't mind it, and the reason why I am okay with the fact that that's where how I started my career is mostly primarily as an editor, is because that's part of the storytelling process.
Sure.
Like, I don't think I could have started my career as like a gaffer doing like lighting or something like that because it's too technical. But editing, as technical as it is, it's still part of storytelling. And that's really, ultimately, that's what I want to do, is I wanted to tell stories, and editing allowed me that ability to tell stories. Right now, I would say the majority of the work that I do is writing.
Oh.
I get hired a lot as a writer.
Okay.
So, but as a director as well. But it's like between writing and editing. Between writing and directing. I still get hired as an editor sometimes, but it's mostly writing and directing right now.
On these projects, what's like the most difficult thing that you have to do? Like, you might even enjoy it, but like, what do you find as to be like the biggest struggle within doing all of film as a director, as a writer?
I think film as a writer, nothing. I love the writing process. There's nothing. Well, no, I don't say there's nothing difficult. There's difficulties, writer's block. Yeah, everybody gets writer's block. But so as a writer, I'm good with that. But as producing or directing, filmmaking is a very, very collaborative art form, and that's a beautiful thing in one sense because you get to pick everybody's brains about that. You know, I sit down and I talk to the DP, and I'm not a dictator on set. I'm not like, okay, Mr. Cinematographer.
Is that true, Amber?
It's so true. I've never seen a more calm like person who's like charge of something and not getting frustrated at all. Like you have all of the patience in the world, but you don't show it at all. Like you are such a level-headed person when it comes to being on set.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
I mean, because it is collaborative, and I want everybody to bring what they're going to bring to it. I want Amber to bring to Khadija as a character what Amber envisions in her mind about it. Where I'm going to talk about it with her too. Like, it's not going to be only Amber's vision. It's going to be my vision, her vision. We might even bring some other people in, talk to them about it. So it's a very, very collaborative art form. So some of the most difficult things that I've had is when I'm trying to collaborate with people that are not trying to collaborate. That they're trying to, like, they're just difficult people to work with. You know, a cinematographer who won't take direction, for example. Well, no, I want to shoot it this way. Okay, but I don't want to shoot it that way. I want to shoot it this way. Yeah. You know, or an actor who's just like, well, this is what I want to bring to the character. Well, cool. I want to hear that, and I want to talk about that, and let's have a back and forth about it. Cool. But like at the end of the day, I'm the one who's looking at the big picture. Like, that's what the director does. The director doesn't get into. Amber's only worrying about Khadija, right? The gaffer's only worried about what he's setting up for lighting or for whatever it is. That's what it is. Like, everybody's worried about their thing. My job as a director is to see the big picture. So you respect that, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't respect the fact that I'm looking at the big picture, and your personality. So I guess I'm giving a very long-winded answer to basically say personality conflicts.
Yeah.
But I feel like you do a really good job with working with them too, because even when I first came on set, like before we did the first scene, my first scene was me literally bawling my eyes out. And before we could do this, I had to like, and that's easy for me, Frost. Like, it's easy for me to cry, but that was the first thing I had to do. So like Murad like takes me to the side. He's like, listen, this is your character's dynamic. This is how it's gonna be. What do you want to bring to the character? How do you think that you fit with this person? Like, what do you want to bring to it? And we found like a middle ground. And even in the middle of the script, if I said something and I'd look at it funny, he's like, it doesn't sound natural from you. Change it up. And like he would kind of go like, it's fine to change it up as long as it works. Like, it has to be good. And then I think that you gave a lot of room for that to happen.
She said earlier that you work on a lot of like, Muslim or Arab films, and you were kind of shaking your head. What are most of your productions, and do you have a specific style on them?
Right now, most of my productions are so earlier on it was mostly like documentary. I did a lot of documentary back in the day, and then somehow I don't know how I got into it, but then I went through a phase of a few years where I was doing a lot of music videos. I don't know why.
What kind of artists?
Mostly hip-hop artists.
Dean TV.
I actually did. I did a couple of music videos for Native Dean. I did.
Yeah.
But
do you like doing that or no?
I mean, the way that I am, the way that like when I work on something, I don't know how I do it, but I like trick myself into loving every single project I work on. I don't know how I trick myself, but like, because the thing is, like, if I don't love the project I'm working on, I'm not gonna do well. Yeah. So I've kind of gotten into this like zone where I can trick myself into thinking that like this is the most amazing project, and then we'll wrap and I'll be like, oh, that was lame. Right? Or because there's projects that I look back at now and I just like cringe and I'll roll my eyes and just kind of go, oh, I hope nobody sees that. But at the time I was working on it, I was like all about it, because if I'm not, then I'm not going to do a good job. Like, I have to be passionate about whatever it is. So
is there any difficulty of being on a like Muslim specific sets, like that you have to be mindful of, or that you don't?
Honestly, my biggest issue with being on all these Muslim projects is the stigma. Like, I don't want to be known as the guy who does Muslim films, because I want to tell stories. It's just like the reason why most of the films that I do are that way is because, like I said, that's the network that I built around me. Those are the people that I know. But like I've done horror films, I've done music videos for artists that are not Muslim. But no, man, I'm not gonna lie. Most of the projects that I work on have something in some way to do with either the community or, you know, which is I'm not mad at that either because I'm from that community, so it's all good. Like I don't mind that. I don't want to be known as the guy that does like religious stuff. I'll put it that way, because it's not. Like a lot of the stories that I do have nothing to do with, or I try at least to not make them preachy. I'm over that. Like I did that when I was younger, and I see the sort of the flaw of doing things that way. You're only, you know, you preach to the choir, right? The only people who watched those projects were people who already agreed with me. I wasn't changing anybody's minds. I wasn't starting any conversations.
Well, is it even possible to do a project like that and go mainstream? Is that part of your goal, though?
No.
Okay.
No. My goal is to tell good stories. If I got a call for a project tomorrow that involved a character that is not Arab or Muslim and it has nothing to do with Arabs or Muslims, I would sit down with it like I sit down with any other project and understand what the story is, understand who the characters are, and I would tell that story to the best of my ability, and then I'd move on to the next project, which is that's a whole different story. That's a bad habit that I have. Like,
but you don't have aspirations to like do something mainstream?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But like I thought you meant do something like Muslim mainstream.
Oh no. Well, I'm wondering if that's even like possible.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, like Crazy Rich Asians is like it was like a specific
that's
stereotype, and
a-
then you break it in to like something
no, but that's
bigger.
like an ethnicity, and it's also like a huge. I don't think that that's the same thing as like a religion.
Yeah,
What-
I guess.
I mean,
I was
look,
thinking
there's
more
the
like the
religion,
Arab
and then there's
aspect
the-
of it.
Right, and that's what. Yeah, so there's the religion itself, and then there's
Yeah.
the group of people. Whether it's Muslims but then Muslims are so diverse, right? We're not monolithic.
Yeah.
Like you guys are
Like, I
all
mean, like-
South Asian, and I'm
Yeah.
Arab, and we come from very, very different cultural backgrounds, right?
Yeah. Like
So-
Aladdin is not going to be a Muslim film,
right?
Right. No, but I was
Right.
thinking more
but
of
there's
like
going
the
to be
Arab
elements
side.
that are from Islam, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that you did scary movies.
Yeah, those are fun.
You did something called Jinn, and correct me if I'm wrong, Deva?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are both scary films?
They're horror films. They're shorts.
How'd you get introduced to scary films?
That's a buddy of mine. Shout out to Mustafa. His name is Mustafa Eshinzada.
Yeah.
Good dude. He's a real close friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time, and he's just into stuff like that. Like he's into like horror films and like Halloween, and like he goes to like all these events with, like, even when it's not like October, even when it's not like nothing, like he just likes to go to these. He's just a dark person, but he's also a real fun, like, light person too. So he came to me when he was like just years ago, and he was just like, I want to make a horror film, and I'm like, what for? He's just like I have this idea for this film. I'm like, sure, let's do it. So we did it, and it was cheesy and it was poorly made, but it was fun.
How many jump scares?
In that first one, man, I don't remember. The first one, I don't even remember what it
In
was called.
Jinn?
No, Jinn was the second one we did.
Oh.
But the first one, as bad, I think the first
Didn't
one
you
was
say
called...
that you needed like a budget for it, and you asked him to go get it, and he like, what was that for Jinn?
So the first one,
want you to tell
he
that
just
story.
so he just, I don't know how much he got. He got like basically just barely enough for us to like rent a camera. That was basically it. We just got some friends together and made this little cheesy horror film. But it did well. Like he's the complete opposite of me in the sense of like, I'm all about like just get the project done to the best of my ability, and then I move on to the next project. Where he's like all about like the marketing and push it and get it out there, and like, so he did that with the first film.
The
and it
only
did some
reason I
festivals.
found these films is because of his
Because of-
posts
yeah, I
about
know.
these.
I know.
And things that he's put out. He's
Yeah, I
like
know.
the marketer of all of your films.
He really is. He really is. Yeah. No, he's really good with that stuff. So he got it out there, and then so he came to me a couple years later. He was like, "Hey, let's round 2, man. Let's do it again." So I'm like, "All right," but this time I'm not doing it. Like I'm not gonna do another horror film with like just me and you and a camera and like some friends. Like we got to do it legit. And he was like, "All right, how much money?" So I told him, "All right." I don't even remember how much it was, to honest. Like, I was just like, "Get this much money," and he was like, "All right." Called me back like a few months later. He was like, "All right, I did this GoFundMe or whatever it was. What's that other one? Kickstarter or whatever." And he got it. And I'm like, "Wait, you actually got people to put money into this thing?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Sweet, let's do it."
How did he get people to like?
I don't know.
He made his own little film teaser.
I mean, he used the first one that we made as like a trailer.
Like, hey,
type of
we're
thing.
bringing in a Muslim horror film because it's called Jinn.
The second one is called Jinn. Yeah.
Like that's.
I got some
great.
stories about that one. That one was fun. That was probably of the three. I think that of the 3 horror films I did with him, I think that one was the most fun. But yeah, I mean, go watch it. I'm not going to ruin the story, but it's basically a story. I'll set it up at least of a young couple that buys their first house.
Oh,
and
no.
they move into you see where this is going, don't you? So yeah, they buy their first house. They move
they're
into
on
the house.
Amazon Prime, so we can go watch them.
You can, yeah.
And Deva got some. Okay, on Dean TV, they
He
kind
didn't
of
finish the summary.
Yes, he did.
well, that's I mean, they move into the house, and it's
That's all you need
He
to
said,
know.
he
I
said,
don't
he
want
said
to
to
know
go
more.
watch it. He
the
said
movie's
he
called
was
Gin,
going to.
but it's
Okay.
So we did that one, and then Mustafa actually submitted it to a bunch of festivals, and it won like
Yeah.
scariest film.
Whoa.
Oh,
like a
nice.
bunch of like festivals and things like that. It did really, really well.
That's fire.
Jin did really, really well, and then so he wanted to do a third one, and I was just like, all right, man, let's do it. So then we did Deva, which is it's very different than Jin. That one's a little bit harder to set up, but that one deals more with like a breakup and an obsession, where a guy becomes obsessed.
Like
with,
you.
Please.
No. I'm sorry. Not you as a person. You as in this TV show.
There's a TV show called You.
I thought that's what you were saying.
No,
too.
I'm
I thought
sorry.
for a second too.
I was like,
sorry.
relax, Amber.
No, I'm sorry.
Jeez. Okay, so the Oscars just happened.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing happening in Hollywood? Do you keep up with Hollywood? Like,
I
you
should,
watch
shouldn't
movies,
I?
or-
I watch movies. I do watch a lot of movies, but surprisingly, I don't keep up a lot with what's happening in the entertainment world.
What are some types of movies that really excite you that I think people would know? You watch.
I'm not.
independent films, right?
What was that?
You watch independent films.
No, I'm not that like artsy.
Okay.
I mean, I do some, but like no more than like regular folks. I'm not like
Okay.
only. I'm not one of those people that are just like, oh, that's too mainstream. I'm not gonna watch that movie. Like, no, I
Do you
love
watch
like.
the Oscars or no?
I didn't this year. I didn't. Sometimes
you
I do.
do like them?
Some. I mean, again, I'm not. I don't keep up that
Okay.
much with like the entertainment world as much as I should. I probably should.
I
but
ask because
don't.
whenever I ask someone that's, I guess, like in the industry, quote unquote,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh no, the Oscars like are not real or something." So I don't know how you feel.
There's a lot of politics,
Okay.
but I don't have any inside information.
He doesn't
that
do
I can-
politics
yeah.
anymore.
Exactly.
But you
yeah.
were saying what type of movies?
I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan.
Okay.
So like that's one thing, but like who isn't a huge Christopher Nolan fan, right? Like I'm not special.
But that means it works though.
What works?
Like his
His
movies
movies,
work. Then if
his
everyone
style
likes them,
movies.
it's not like, oh, just because everyone likes them that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I also like
well,
them. So
because
it's not
see
valid.
his films, like he gets into the minds of these characters, and like that's I love that, and I try to do the same with my characters. I try
Okay.
to make them very, very dynamic and very complex. Like even with this web series that we just did, Rhythms of Faith, right? So I'm not gonna lie, some of the characters are a little bit kind of one dimensional, a bit. But my favorite characters in that, like her character, I'm not just saying this because we're sitting here, but her character is probably one of my favorite ones because she's so complex. She's very, very complex and weird and very hypocritical, and like she's not like just this like perfect little Muslim girl, nor is she just like this girl that just like wows out all the time. Like she's like somewhere in between, right?
Maybe.
She's complex.
She's confused.
A little
She's conflicted.
rebellious.
She's rebellious. She's conflicted. She's complex,
Yeah.
and I love complex characters like that. So, and Christopher Nolan is an absolute master of complex characters. Another one. This one isn't really film; it's more television. But another one of my inspirations as a writer in terms of developing characters is George R.R. Martin, who's the creator of the Game of Thrones world.
Okay.
I read all his books, like not just the Game of Thrones books. Like I read like all his books, and
Why is he behind on Game of Thrones?
I'm not gonna get into that. 'Cause like when it comes to the show Game of Thrones, like I'm just a fanboy. Like I'm not gonna sit there and pick it apart. I just love the show. But in terms of like him developing, like his ability to develop characters, like he developed a character that spoiler alert, I guess, right, for Game of Thrones. For anybody that doesn't watch it, there you go. There, it's out there. Spoiler alert now, right? He developed a character that throws a 7-year-old boy out of a window and tries to kill him in season 1, episode 1. Okay, and is involved in some like really weird relationships, right? And by season 3, we're rooting for this guy to succeed, and we love him, and he's a hero. Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? You do that with extremely complex characters where you see their dark sides, you see their light side, and because we all have that in us, we all have that murderer killer in us, and we all have the person that like saves the day in us. We're all shades of gray. That's what real humans are like. So, you know, that's what I like about George Martin's characters. That's what I like about the way that Christopher Nolan develops characters. Like they have to be complex and gray. Like I don't like the good guy thing.
If
The
you
good
could
guy,
work
bad guy
with
thing.
like 1 to 3 actors or actresses from anywhere, who would
Aside
it
from
be?
me, you know.
Oh, yeah, I've already
Definitely not her. No.
That's checked off the bucket list now. So
Yeah.
I got to work with Amber.
All right, 1 out of 3 done.
Not for us.
I never finished why we didn't cast you. I never got to finish telling that story. I'll make let me finish that real quick. It's really, really quick. Basically, the bottom line is that character is really dark and really brooding and really just like somebody who's just like angry all the time. And like you came in and you were like very cool and very chill. You got swag. Like I'm taking it as a compliment.
He like
so
practices at home.
I was like, this dude is too chill. He's too cool for Omar, for the character Omar.
You're too
And
cool.
another dude who came in to read for the character. To be honest, like you actually did better than that guy, but he just brought this essence. He brought this presence. So he was like dark and brooding and just like, and like he just, you were too cool for the role. Is basically what I'm saying.
No, I got it. The week after that, so she told me that, and then the week after that, I got compared to a serial killer. So
Oh wow!
But a calm one.
Everybody's
calm
perspectives. Oh, that type of serial killer. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say nothing.
what
right
other
now,
type
but-
of serial killer? There's just
I don't know. Yeah.
So many.
serial killer. Okay, wait. So, all right, who are the like 3 actors or actresses that like you would definitely want to work with, direct their movie?
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, I just got done talking about Christopher Nolan, right? So he works with Christian Bale a lot. I think Christian Bale is an amazing actor who like just immerses himself in his characters.
Okay.
Right? If you've seen like The Machinist, or if you've seen like that one that he was in, the boxing movie. Now that I forgot what it is. The Fighter. Yeah. He just like becomes these
He did
characters.
Vice just now.
Yeah. He becomes these characters. Oh yeah, in Vice, like you can't even tell that's him. That's insane.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I love actors that do that. So he's definitely one. Man.
One more.
One more. Oh right, because Amber was. Yeah, she was.
All right. Remember.
So one more.
Khadija.
What was that?
Mahershala Ali.
Oh.
You were just
I mean,
putting
he's-
actors in his mouth.
He's good, but I'm just honestly like he's just not somebody that ever like kind of came to mind.
Okay.
You know what? Probably Rami Malek. Just because
There
I
you
got
go.
that like Arab connection with him a little bit,
There you go.
and that dude's just amazing.
Killed it.
I feel like
Yeah.
he's stuck in his in his Freddie Mercury mode. Like
when he did his Oscar speech.
even now, like before that, I remember him like walking and talking and stuff, and it seemed pretty Rami. But now it feels like he's just
always Freddie Mercury.
I feel like he's stuck. Maybe he's like he immersed himself so much in that role that he's just like
Yeah, who knows?
stuck
Actors
in it
do
forever.
that. Yeah.
Also,
Method-
like,
I
what
don't
do
know
you-
if he's a method actor though. But if you
Yeah.
see some of his stuff even before this, like everybody's on. Rami Malek is like on right now because of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
He just
yeah.
won all these awards. But like I was kind of like I was feeling Rami Malek before all the Bohemian. I mean, I knew Rami Malek was cool before Rami Malek knew he was cool. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm talking about like Mr. Robot. Obviously, he was really good in, and
Yeah.
I saw some of it. He was even in a Tom Hanks film like a long time ago where he played some like goofy college kid or something like that. It was a small role, but even then, like he killed it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this dude's really good. And I kind of saw him coming up, and like I would love to work with that guy.
Yeah,
It'd
I
be
want to
amazing
ask
work
you
with him.
also regarding actors. Like, what do you think about people who are not of the race that the story was written for, playing that? Like, for example, if a white person played Mulan or whatever, like, didn't what's her name, Scarlett Johansson, play some Asian?
Yeah. She did.
So-
in an anime. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, especially from a director's role?
I think if it's extreme, if it's like what you just described,
Mm-hmm.
like it's not cool,
Mm.
right? But people like I have as a director, for example, right? If I'm casting
Yeah.
an Arab character
Mm.
and a Persian guy comes in and reads for the role and does really well, I'll cast him because he looks Arab. Arabs and I mean, come
That's
on,
close.
yeah.
That's like what happened
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Aladdin, right? Like,
Yeah.
it was an Egyptian guy and a.
Yeah,
We had a white dude play a Pakistani character on this show.
we did.
Yeah, my dad.
He's not white. Oh, he's half white. I guess.
He's white.
But he wasn't Pakistani.
Okay, so,
sorry,
like,
sorry,
where's the
sorry.
line
my bad,
there?
My bad. I thought that basically you're cool with it.
Give me
Blonde
your
hair, blue
papers. I need
eyes.
your birth certificate to see it. Like,
Yeah, no, I mean, look, if you fit the role, if the person comes in and fits the role,
okay.
then I don't see what the problem is. That's just me personally, right? But then at the same time, if the person comes in and doesn't fit the role,
Yeah.
that's cool too, but then change the character. Change the character then, right? Like, there's all these stories like Whoopi Goldberg used to do that. She used to go in and read for roles that were cast for like white men. And she's a black woman, obviously, then she would end up getting cast in this role. But they're not casting Whoopi Goldberg now to play a white man. They just changed the character now to be a black woman. The character is now a black woman. So like, I'm cool with that too. So like, if you're casting, which that's actually what we did with what Amber's talking about, is that the character originally was Pakistani. This guy came in to read for it. He was really good, but he doesn't look Pakistani at all. So we didn't just like, all right, let's just force this guy in here as Pakistani. We changed the character. The character became no longer Pakistani. He was Arab.
You didn't want to give him a spray tan?
I know, right? Yeah.
He became my stepdad instead of my real dad.
Yeah, exactly. He became a stepdad instead of a real
that
dad.
must change the story up.
And that's exactly that's what we did. So if you need to make changes like that, but like no, I mean obviously like having if a character is black, obviously blackface is not a thing anymore. That's not cool. So or brown face or like all this other stuff. But where it gets a little dicey though, right, is like, what if I want to cast for a Pakistani character, okay, but that Pakistani character is an immigrant, right? Would you now come in and read that character with an accent, or are you going to be offended by that? Because this whole thing now with like Apu and like, right, that whole thing, like, to me, like, why is it offensive if the character is an immigrant? Like, I'm not making fun of immigrants. This character is I don't want you to do the Indian accent so that everybody could laugh at it, but this character is an immigrant.
What if I do the accent better than the immigrant?
What do you mean?
I'm saying according to your thing, like,
right, exactly. If you
I
come
might
in,
fit the role,
right,
but just because he's an immigrant, like,
right, and I actually am having a little bit of a conflict right now with a comedy film that I'm working on, because this comedy film is all about immigrants. That's what the story is about. And me and the producer, well, he's the writer producer. Actually, he's the director too. I'm co-writing and producing for him. And he's just like, well, if we're going to cast somebody as an Indian immigrant or a Pakistani immigrant, we have to cast an immigrant. And I'm like, why? He was like, well, I don't want anybody faking an accent. I'm like, why? He was like, well, I don't want to offend anybody.
We fake all our accents.
And I'm like, why is that going to be offending somebody? The story is about immigrants. We're not asking somebody to do the accent. Again, for people to laugh. It's the guy himself is an immigrant. He was just like, well, maybe he learned English really, really good. And I'm like, nah, dude. Like, anybody who comes from a different country is going to have an accent. Even people who come from different states have different accents.
You got to release a PR statement like, listen, the immigrants are not auditioning because they're not allowed to pursue acting. They have to be like second, third generation. That's the only way it's going to work.
Also, we stereotype too.
Actually, come to think of it, you might actually fit that role.
Oh my god!
When we're casting for that, come in and read for it.
Never again. I'm never. No, I'm just kidding. We got to wrap up soon. Did you have any like last?
Yeah. Okay. So you had a post where you said basically that, as a filmmaker, you've had this scenario happen to you a lot of times where a friend will have an idea to work with you. You say, I'd love to collaborate. And they're like, okay, great. So now can you actually make the film? So you write and or produce / direct the film. And after it's done, you move on to the next project. And they say, thank you. And then they end up taking all the credit for it, never mention your name or your involvement. And then you said, rinse and repeat. Yeah. It's a story of your life and your film career. Why do you talk about that a little bit? Like, what do you mean by this? Because you seemed really angry in this post, or like upset.
Yeah. Just for the record, I with the specific individual that was happening with that at that time, we hashed it out. We're cool.
Okay, cool.
But the rinse repeat part is true though. Like it happens to me all the time.
Right.
All the time. There's a lot of people that I haven't like hashed it out with. There's people who I work on a project. I become very, very passionate about the project. I do the project, and then I move on to the next project. That's just, it's a flaw of mine. I recognize it. I don't know how to fix it, to be honest.
Is it you specifically, or your job as a filmmaker?
No, I think it's just me. It's just me. That's just how I am. Marketing and pushing things and social media and network and getting things out there. It's just, I don't know, like, that's it. I've moved on. The project is done. So if there's nobody behind the project pushing it, then the project probably won't get pushed, which is why I like to work with other people that do things like that. Like that guy Mustafa, that, for the gin film and things like that. He's amazing with things like that. But because that's sort of my nature to do that, I've worked on a lot of projects where people will have me do the work, whether it's the writing, the directing, the producing, whatever it is. I'll put the whole thing together. Then they'll put it out. They'll get it out there. It'll do its thing. I worked on a couple projects that got millions of views online and things like that. And then like when they get recognized for it, they're getting awards, they're being interviewed by magazines, and then my name just never gets mentioned. They go on to and talk about their project and take an acknowledgement for the project as though they did it completely on their own and I had nothing to do with it. And then based off of that, because they're so good on hyping themselves, and that's good, I'm not mad at them for hyping themselves, like more power to you, hype yourself if you're doing something cool, but they will then get, because like what's credit and acknowledgement in this industry? it's not ego. Well, unfortunately for most people, I think maybe it is ego.
It's everything.
Yeah, but it's not, like, for me, it's not ego. Like, I don't want credit and acknowledgement and awards and interviews or my name to be dropped for my own ego boost. Like, that's what gets me more work.
Right.
That's what elevates me to the next level. That's what people hear. Oh, this guy did that project. Okay, well, I have a project. Let me bring him on. That's just how the industry works. That's how a lot of industries work, but particularly this one, right? So a lot of people have done that, and then they'll go on. They'll get recognized. And then they're off now doing bigger projects and bigger projects and bigger projects, and they're like, "Thanks, Murad," and that's it. And then that's it. And I never hear from them again. Yeah. They never mention my name. So it's happened to me a lot, to be completely honest. That's happened to me many, many times.
If you could put like a PSA out there, like what would it be for like Murad specifically, like so that this wouldn't happen? Like, what do you want people to know?
I gotta start hype. Like, you're talking about, like, what, like a lesson that I need to learn about myself,
or like tell people who like work with you, like, how to do it differently.
I mean, you got to get used to the idea of hyping yourself, not for the sake of hyping yourself, but for the sake of, like, getting people to recognize the work that you're doing, right? And then, like, negotiate. Like, now I'm at a point now where I'll negotiate things with people, like, not just, like, I'll negotiate social media posts. That's like part of the contract. Like, anything you post about this project, you have to name me by name and tag me in it.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah.
And when, like, before I wasn't doing that. Like, and then what happened is, like, I get my name on the screen in credit, right? But, like, you know, YouTube and Facebook and social media, those algorithms don't read the text that's on the screen. So, like, it means nothing. It means nothing. People see my name, but that's it. But they'll be tagging people. Or, like, I'll tell them, like, if you're ever interviewed about this project, you have to talk about me. And I'm not talking, obviously not if I was, like, an assistant, or if I was, like, I'm talking about, I'm writing, producing, directing these projects. So if I'm a writer, producer, director, any combination of those three, I'm now negotiating that, like, any post that comes with this project, I have to be on. Whether it's an interview, or if it's a social media post, or whatever it is. Or if it's an award, if you're being recognized as an award. And it sounds self-centered, and I don't like doing it because it sounds self-centered. Like, okay, if you're going to get an award, you have to mention my name in your acceptance speech. Like, it sounds petty, it sounds silly, but, like, I had to start doing that. I was wondering
if when people are accepting an award, if that's, like, part of their deal that they have to do that.
I don't know. I started doing it, and it sounds weird, and it's weird for me.
It is for, like, certain production teams.
You're saying it sounds weird, but I feel like it makes sense, especially when you consider everything you said, how you know, it's a cycle and that it happens over and over, and that's important to you.
Yeah,
and important to your career.
Yeah, and it happens over and over, and I'm probably doing it to myself to an extent because, like I said, I'm the type of person that just moves on to the next project. So they're saying, well, Murad's not hyping this film or this project. He's not pushing it. I'm pushing it. So since I'm pushing it, well, I'm just going to take all the credit then.
Yeah.
I don't think people think about it consciously. I think it just kind of happens. And then, you know, fame and popularity, success does weird things to people. Weird things. So,
Facts.
the very first time it happened to me, somebody came to me. They were fresh out of film school. And I was a few years older. I was at a film school for maybe a few years by then. And they came, I have this idea. I'm like, okay, it's a cool little idea. Sure, let's do it. And then we did it. And we posted it online, and it blew up. And it became huge. And then that person just never mentioned it. I moved on. Like, I moved on to the next project.
Can you say what that project was or no?
No.
I have another question.
But it's old. It's like, it's been a minute. It's been like probably 10 years. So
let's make this the last one.
Yeah, I have another question. You're sitting with 3 YouTubers right here.
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, what you think of, like, YouTube and, like, those types of filmmakers. Have you ever thought of, like, going into YouTube like that? Or
some of my early successes were with YouTube, but I just didn't, because of my flaw of, like, not, you know, capitalizing on things like that. I didn't continue to ride that train. But there was a certain point where we're talking like early YouTube, 2007, 2008. I had like 50,000 subscribers.
Oh, snap.
And my videos were getting 2 million, 3 million hits.
Wow,
that's a lot.
I know.
For that time.
And I just didn't ride it through. At the time, I saw it as like, oh, YouTube's just like this cute little online thing. My stuff was doing well, and I monetized them at a certain point and made a little bit of money off of them too. But it was just like, I don't know why at the time, but I just didn't see it as like a viable thing. I was trying to get into the film industry. YouTube, I didn't take it seriously. Yeah.
Well,
so
this one will be on YouTube, right?
This one will be, but like this is a different, like, you know, it's a whole different thing. Like they have their own YouTube channel, things like that.
Right.
So like, how do I feel about YouTubers? Do your thing, man. Like I think people have to start recognizing that that's where everything is going now.
Can they be Hollywood actors?
Absolutely. Why not? Acting is acting. If somebody's a good, talented actor and they're dynamic on screen and they can bring something to the character, whether it's on the big screen or the TV screen or the computer screen or the phone screen, like what difference does it make? A good actor is a good actor.
Do you ever think that like YouTubers have revealed too much about themselves to be taken seriously, as in, because there's the whole thing about like actors need to be mysterious in some way so that they can fit any role. Is that like something that you vibe with or no?
I see what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. I've heard like Denzel Washington talk about that a lot too, where like he'll disappear, he'll vanish for like a couple of years. So people are like, oh, what's going on with Denzel Washington? And then when his new movie drops, everybody's like, oh, let's go see it, right? So I don't know. I do see I don't think there's one path to success. I don't. And like I see all these people out there, you know, these huge YouTubers, and some of them, to be completely honest, I don't even like them. Like I don't like their personality, but I'm like, all right, but like he or she, they're doing their thing. They're out there. They're
Are you talking about FouseyTube?
No, I swear to God, I wasn't talking about that. I was not talking about that, dude.
I told Murad that he looks kind of like FouseyTube.
He looks nothing like.
Were you trying to say all Arabs look the same?
Yeah, that was literally an Arab stereotype comment.
I know.
We don't all look the same, okay?
It was just funny. He was like, "What? Because I'm bald and I have a beard and I'm Arab?" And I was like, "Yes, that's precisely why."
All right, cool. But no, I like. He's like, whether it's him or anybody else, like they're doing their thing. Like I was recently in a meeting with a producer on that same comedy that I was just telling you guys about immigrants and things like that. Yeah. And I brought up a YouTuber to play a certain role, and I'm like, hey, she would kill this role. And he's like, well, who is she? What has she been in? And I'm like, well, her YouTube channel has this. He was just like, YouTube. He's a much older guy, so he's like, nah. He doesn't get it. Right?
YouTube.
Yeah, so he's just like, YouTube. She's a YouTuber. Like, what does that mean? I meant like, you know, what has she been in terms of movies? I'm like, well, she's been in one film in like a small role, but like, he was like, no, we want like.
Koshy?
No, it's not even wrong ethnicity.
Okay.
It's Asian.
Dina.
Actually.
Oh, never mind.
It's for an Asian character, and he didn't like believe me, and I'm just like, okay. So I like grabbed a bunch of her stuff where she's playing different characters on these YouTube videos, and some of her stuff, some of this girl's, honestly I don't even remember what the girl's name is right now, but some of the stuff is like really well made. Like she has like fight scenes and stuff like that. They're like, dang, like they got some like serious choreography here and cinematography and everything is great. So I started showing it to him. And I'm just like, look what she's done here. And he kind of backed up. He was like, oh wow, she's really good. And I'm like, yeah. And on top of that, she has like 1 million people following her on YouTube. Like she's huge. Like this girl, like she'll bring.
It could help your movie.
That's exactly like somebody who's a successful YouTuber brings more than just their talent. They're an influencer, right? And that's the thing now, is that like the talent / influencer thing is a big deal, because somebody could be an influencer, and you might want to use them in a certain way, but they're not a talented actor, so you can't cast them in a role. And somebody else might be the opposite. They might be a talented actor, but all they bring to the project is their talent, right? Why do people cast celebrities in roles that they don't fit? How many times have you seen, you're watching a movie, you're like, why did they cast that? That person doesn't even fit that role, because they're a huge celebrity. That's it. They cast this huge celebrity to bring the views in, right? So if somebody is already an influencer, they have a huge following online, and they're talented on camera, that's like...
Win-win.
That's like, what's it called? Double something. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You guys know what I'm saying. Yeah, like you bring in a lot to the table. Yeah. So
can you tell everybody about the one that you just worked on now, where they can find that, and any other upcoming projects you have?
The Rhythms of Faith. Rhythms of Faith is.
You just
going
asked
to
me
be
the
on...
title of the.
Listen, we rapped last week, so what did I say about myself?
We rapped 2 days ago.
Oh my God, yeah. We rapped 2 days ago, and I've already moved on. I've already moved on. Like, I'm already thinking about the next project I'm working on.
He's like already advertising his next one.
Yeah, exactly. Rhythms of Faith is going to be on Dean TV's YouTube channel.
Okay, cool.
So,
cool. And where can people find? You're not on social media or anything? Like,
I am. I'm on. I mean, technically, I'm on all of them. I'm on Facebook.
Where can people
Instagram.
watch your stuff?
Please tell them where they can find your stuff.
They're not all consolidated in one place.
Yeah, we know. Trust and believe. To prepare for this interview, they're nowhere to be found.
They're scattered. Some of them are on different things, but I mean, okay. So you get some of them are on my Facebook thing. My Facebook thing.
We're trying to help you out here.
I know you're trying to help me out here. Okay, so my
he's like you'll come across them someday. That's his plug.
Yeah, that's my plug. Yeah, look for me, search me. No, I mean,
yeah. If people search you, will they
Google him?
You can Google me. You'll find my stuff is kind of scattered. Some of it's on my website, although I need to update that too, which is muradaldin.com. Some of it's on my social media pages. Some of it is on the pages of the productions themselves.
All right.
So like
his IMDb. There you go. That's IMDb. Something.
After this, give us like your 3 top links, and we'll put in the description.
Yeah. That will work
wherever they're scattered.
And for you guys, and actually any of your listeners too, clearly I need a publicist. So any recommendations, so yeah, Rhythms of Faith will be on the Dean TV YouTube channel. Other projects I'm working on right now. I'm working on a real fun one, actually, another web series called LOL Parenting, which is real fun because I'm a parent.
I saw the one, the most recent one that you had with the wings, the fairy wings.
The fairy wings, that's a fun
that was
one.
Nice twist in there.
Yeah. That's
and
a
very
cool
progressive.
One. Yeah. I mean, we're trying to hit like. There's others that are,
it is like that. I wasn't expecting that. So.
Yeah, it's fun. Like that whole series is really fun because I'm a parent. I have 2 kids and I actually have a 3rd one on the way.
Mashallah.
So, and when you're raising kids, man, kids are nuts. Kids are crazy. Like all kinds of, like I said, like ultimately at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller, right? And like so many stories come from like watching these kids grow up and all the nutty things that they do. So a friend of mine got together and said, we should turn this into a web series. So what we do is we take all these stories of parents, because that's what parents do. When you guys have kids, you'll see you're going to sit around with other people who have kids, and you're going to do just these long 3-4 hour sessions of just telling stories about things that your kids do. And it's not always going to be like, oh, little, so-and-so did this amazing thing at school. No, it's like, my kid crapped on the carpet the other day. And like, it's just like crazy, like, things like that. So
it's a cool idea.
Yeah, so we started taking those things and we recreate them as these little sketches. Yeah. And it's doing really well. That channel has, I think, almost 100,000 followers right now.
Nice.
And the videos are getting 300,000-400,000 views each, and a lot of engagement. So that's the
I'm
thing.
sure they're popping off on Facebook.
They are. That's on Facebook. If you look up LOL Parenting on Facebook, that's cool. There. Other than that, I'm working on that comedy about immigration. It's called Deported. That's going to be coming out probably maybe early next year. That's going to be a real cool project. I just got brought in to a project. I don't think I can say the title for that one, but that's a real cool one about. Okay, so I can give the premise for it. That one is anybody brown, second generation, who grew up in the 90s will relate to it.
That's very specific, but sure.
Yeah.
It's still awesome.
It's basically it's about a group of kids growing up in the 90s, but a group of brown kids growing up in the 90s.
Yeah.
So that one, but we're in the very early stages of that.
So basically come across him sometime in the future, somewhere, somehow.
And I'm also working on a TV show in the Middle East called Ya'juj.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that's kind of in the horror genre. So you guys know Ya'juj?
No.
So Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. It's one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, right?
Oh my god.
Okay.
So we took like, what else are most Muslims? Yeah, see, she's shuddering right now, right? Because if you want to scare Muslims, you can either say jinn, right? Or you start talking about like the Day of Judgment and the signs of the Day of Judgment, right? So the jinn thing is done. Like I did one. There's like 50 other jinn films out there. That's done. So this friend of mine, he came up with this idea. He was like, what else scares Muslims? He's like, the Day of Judgment.
Pork.
That too.
Make another horror film called Pork.
So we have a whole show that we're developing right now that it'll be in Arabic. It'll be in the Middle East, but it's going to be subtitled in English too for non-Arabic speakers to watch it. But the whole thing revolves around the concept and the idea of the signs of the Day of Judgment start happening.
That is creepy.
Yeah. It's so good. It's kind of like in the light of like, it's post-apocalyptic, so it's like very like Walking Dead type of like.
Wow.
It is
creepy.
Cool. It's really good. We have the whole first season ready, and it is nuts.
That's awesome.
It's so
Well,
it's nuts.
Murad, we're excited for all of these projects to come up, and I'm sure the listeners will go and watch your stuff right now and look forward to that coming out. But we have one last question that we ask at the end of every podcast.
All right.
Amber, do you want to take that away?
Yes. If you could describe yourself as any flavor, what would it be and why?
Flavor.
This is strange flavors.
Bring on your flavor. What's happening?
Flavor.
Flavor of anything.
That describes you.
That describes me.
He's like, oh, I can't even describe
it. Doesn't have to be an ice cream flavor. Come on, storyteller.
Say the first one that comes to your head and make it.
Like I'm thinking, I know this is weird, but like I don't know, like a graham cracker caramel type of thing.
Okay.
And why?
Well, first of all, I love it, but that's I don't know. See, but now I feel like I'm sounding arrogant, but it's almost like like vanilla, strawberry, chocolate. Those are such like basic flavors. Caramel, something that's like almost. I'm almost thinking something's like even. I don't know what I'm saying.
This is about you. It
is
doesn't matter
me.
about
it's
arrogance.
it's a little bit more of a complex, a little bit more of a sophisticated, kind of flavoring when you get into like, because I'm even thinking like the caramel like macchiatos and coffees and things like that. Like I'm almost thinking of like something that you would like sip a coffee and like have a cigar at the same time, like something like that.
Wow.
But in flavor form.
Although I don't
What is
smoke
that?
cigars, I don't know. Like something that is,
That's what you said. Graham cracker.
Yeah, graham cracker.
Caramel.
yeah,
That's the flavor. Okay.
yeah,
cool.
like a
That's
graham
what's up.
cracker caramel thing, because it's a little bit like, it's older, it's a little bit more sophisticated, maybe it's a little damaged. It's not really maybe necessarily good for you, but you know,
That's perfect.
yeah,
that's fine.
But
That was great.
it's satisfying at the same time.
See, and because you have that hat on, I believe you.
It comes with the hat. The
Really
flavor, the hat's on the flavor.
Yeah. Well, graham cracker caramel. We thank you for being on the podcast today, and thank you guys for listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.
You know how to pick and choose. I like bars and V's and O's. I don't really play no tic-tac-toe. Been with chumps through highs and lows. We seen that last night, they froze. Wasn't no cameras, wasn't no pose. Just